Hello there. Just started this up just for the lols, really. But a short while ago, I was in a G-Man Hangout, and I was trying to explain to him some concepts, but he didn't like it. And then he tried saying, well, prove your worldview is true. And I said, fine, I will do it using presuppositional apologetics. I effectively destroyed his worldview using an argument that he thinks is a good one for Christianity. And I think it's dreadful, and I will explain why. So this is something I wrote a few months ago. It was something that went through while I was thinking about Darwin's deity, and he likes the Presup. So here's the system. So a long time ago, in another universe, a being called Bob decided to create a universe just because he wanted to see what would transpire. In Bob's universe, the laws of logic work differently. So something can come from nothing. That's how Bob's species came about. Over time, that species advanced to a point where they have the technological advancement to be able to create planets and create universes. So Bob created this universe, life and everything, including the laws of logic. That Yahweh thing that Christians believe in, yeah, that's just a myth created by an ancient tribe who were unable to answer the big questions. Where did we come from? What caused the universe? What's the purpose in life? So in the absence of their ability to actually answer the questions, because they didn't have telescopes or glass to be able to, observe the microscopic, that kind of thing, in their inability to answer those kinds of questions, they just made something up. That's my position. That's how I think the God concept came about. But I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So they made something up. No God required. Bob is not God. He's not a God. He's just a powerful being, with the technology. And of course, there's that old thing about, any sufficiently advanced species would be indistinguishable from a god to people from below that standard. That, I'm sure that people would think I was amazing if I took a tablet or a camera and took someone's photo and showed them on the screen. This is what they look like. They'd just be blown away. So now, if you're a Christian, you will say, well, you just made that up, exactly as G-Man did. Well, how could G-Man possibly know that without stealing from my worldview? He can't even use the laws of logic without stealing from my worldview, because, the laws of logic are dependent on Bob creating this universe and the way this universe works. So everything that G-Man says and thinks and does is contingent on Bob. This is where presupposing things leads. A Bob-esque creator of a universe has as much validity in a presuppositional sense as Yahweh does. The only difference is how many people believe it, at which then it becomes a fallacy, argumentum ad populum. So, G-Man's argument, G-Man thinks that Presup is a great argument, and it's only because he doesn't understand it. And in the hangout I just took part in with him, as soon as he realized where I was going, that was when he needed to overtalk me. He told Veckel off while I was starting and just saying, let me just finish. And he's like, hey, stop Veckel from talking. And I was allowed to continue. And as soon as he could see which way the tide was going, that was when he needed to start swimming. Because he had to save his belief system from my presupposition. It defies belief, really, that there he is saying, answered prayer, presuppositionalism, these are good arguments for God. No, it's not. Because you can presuppose anything, and it doesn't matter whether that anything is, Yahweh, which, allows for the Christian, Hebrew, Israeli, Islamic God, or whether it goes to Tajimamori, the Japanese god of sweets, or, any of the Inca or Mayan or, Egyptian gods, or the Roman or Greek gods before, Christianity got a hold. None of these things work unless, there's that element of belief in there. But he can't justify his position using a presup. So he can only, sorry, let me try that again. He can only presuppose something to make it work. He can't prove it. One of the things he said was, well, you can't prove this Bob thing. Where's your scripture? I don't need scripture. It's been revealed to me in a way I know it to be true. This is the problem. I don't need scripture. And the thing about it is, the Bible isn't proof of God. It's only proof that the people who wrote it believed in God. And that leads back to what I was saying a short while ago, that my belief, if you want to call it that, is that the religion is nothing more than an argument from ignorance. I don't understand how this works, so there must be some agency behind it. And my theory, and we can call this a guess theory here, not a scientific theory. My theory is that a long time ago, some hunter-gatherers were around a fireplace. They'd done their hunter-gathering for the day, and they're now, and they're the first philosophers. They're looking around at the universe around them and they're saying, like, where'd the stars come from? Where'd the dirt come from? Where did we come from? And and it's like, the trees are moving. What makes the wind blow the trees? And one of them picks up a leaf and he blows it, and he said, I can make this move by blowing on it. Maybe there's a giant man like us, but a massive one, and he is so big that he blows the breath for everything. His breath is what makes the trees move. And of course, that's deductively sensible. It makes sense that, you say, yeah, where does wind come from? Well, I can create it by doing that. So if we've got a giant wind, there must be a giant producing it. It's logical. It makes sense. It's wrong, absolutely wrong, but it makes sense. And so I think that is the core of the onion, and everything else around it is just layer upon layer, with scripture and dogma and, bits of, costumes and customs and ceremonies and, ways of worshipping, things of that nature. That's what I think the God concept comes from. So, the Presup argument, sorry, G-Man, I just used an argument that you think is good to demonstrate that it isn't. And we got Jackie and Kevin joined. How are you doing?
What's up, Clippy?
I don't know if you've heard anything that I've said so far.
I didn't really need to, because G-Man Presup, I can pretty much fill in blanks.
Yeah, what happened was I used an atheistic Presup on him, and he didn't like it at all.
Of course he didn't. He tried to use, I remember years ago, he tried to use Presup once, and he totally botched it, and it was really funny. There are some people that know a thing or two about philosophy can at least make it sound good to people who don't know better, but G-Man couldn't even accomplish that much.
Now, did you hear my version?
No, go ahead.
It's really simple, but I'll read it out. I've already read it out to the people who have already watched, so you can skip on a couple of minutes if you're watching. So, a long time ago in another universe, a being called Bob decided to create a universe because he just wanted to see what would happen. In Bob's universe, the laws of physics work differently. So something can come from nothing in his universe. That's how Bob's species came to be. And over time, that species advanced to a point where they had the technological advancement to be able to create planets and universes. So Bob created this universe, life and everything, including the laws of logic. That Yahweh thing, that's just created by an ancient tribe who were unable to answer the big questions of where do we come from, what caused the universe, what's the purpose in life. So they just made something up. It's a bit like that joke of 97% of the statistics are made up on the spot, including the one I just stated. So no God required. A Christian will say, you just made that up. But they can't possibly know that without stealing from the worldview that I just presented. They can't use the laws of logic without stealing from my worldview. Everything they say, do, and think is contingent on Bob. And that's where presupposing things lead. Because you can presuppose anything you want. Fairies, goblins, universe-creating pixies, or Yahweh.
I can imagine G-Man's response was, well, I don't believe in Bob. I believe in Jesus. I don't believe in Bob.
Oh, you think it got that far?
Probably
no,
not.
I only got halfway through that. I only got from that Yahweh thing. Yeah, that's just a myth created up by an ancient tribe. Then he talked over me, and then I couldn't get another word out. And then he booted me. And of course he said, what scripture have you got to prove that? Don't need any scripture. No scripture required. Unfortunately, I didn't get to tell him that, it was revealed to me a way I knew it to be true. Hey, Headless.
Hey, Cliff.
So, lot of fun at G-Man's expense. I went in there to have a nice chat, actually. But
yeah, that usually doesn't. Yeah, it's not going to happen when he's doing his little show.
Yeah.
Cliff, I read what was put on G+, and I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's been established, based on what I read on G+, that G-Man's head is full of nothing.
Yes,
a whole lot of nothing.
So, nothing, the absence of something, the absence of anything and everything, would be a vacuum. In its purest sense, a vacuum.
Now, it's a transcendent whole.
Now,
sorry.
if it's a vacuum, and theologians have been arguing this for years, many, almost centuries now, does God exist in a vacuum? We now have an experiment we can do. Because we actually now have a vacuum.
I mean, that was one of the things that I tried to explain to G-Man, because I was trying to explain to him that what is nothing? Because, it all comes down to this idea of, it started with him saying about, he was going to go and defeat abiogenesis. And I said, but you believe in abiogenesis. And he's like, and he kind of blustered a bit. And I said, look,
no, because the nothing that life comes from in this case is a something, because that something would be God. So that's not technically life from nothing.
Well, exactly. I mean, that was the point I was trying to say.
It is life. Oh, okay. It is life.
I was effectively saying that, you believe it, that he believes in abiogenesis. The only difference is the agency. For me, I think it's almost certainly going to be a naturalistic explanation, whereas God did it.
Yeah.
But it's still,
evolution. Evolution says we came from a rock. No, that's Genesis.
Yeah. But it still comes down to this idea of life from non-life, and whether it happened from a naturalistic point of view or whether it happened by a supernatural being that pushed it into existence, made it happen. There's little difference. How do we know which actually happened? I personally don't think a God was behind it. In fact, my religious or non-religious position, because this has been something that's gone on with the whole atheist thing again, my way of describing it is God is not guilty of existence. I haven't experienced anything supernatural. I haven't had a revelation. So I'm putting it in a manner that I think most people can understand. So you think about a court setting where someone is accused of murder. the prosecution has to demonstrate beyond a reasonable doubt that the accused has committed that murder and provides evidence to demonstrate it, to prove it. If the jury decides that the evidence isn't good enough to convict, then the jury declare a verdict of not guilty. Not guilty doesn't mean that the accused person is innocent. They may well have committed the crime. The prosecution just didn't do enough job to convince the jury and prove their case. Now, for me, so far, I haven't heard or witnessed enough evidence to convince me. So from my opinion, God is not guilty of existence. And, it's deductive type stuff. It's like, I read the Bible and said that doesn't comport to reality. Talking animals, well, that wasn't real life. That was something that only happened on the TV with cartoons and movies and maybe in books. So that's not true. That's not real. Walking on water. As a child, I used to enjoy splashing around in puddles, and I never saw anybody walk on water. So again, that's not something that I've ever experienced. And so it doesn't seem very realistic. And then, and the other one is, like touching people and healing them. Well, when I was a kid, we didn't get a soothsayer in, a witch doctor in, or someone to say the right prayers, and I got better. No, we went to the doctor, and the doctor stuck an instrument up my nose or in my ear or something like that, and had a look, and sort of said, and then
why was I thinking Cliff was going to say up his butt?
Take these.
Because you have a dirty mind.
Yes.
I've been hanging out in Discord too long here.
Get your mind out.
That might have something to do with it.
But, like I say, the doctor would give me some pills and say, take those. And I got better. So one worked and the other one never happened. So, that's where my rationale came from. That's why when I read the Bible, I went, that doesn't match reality. I've said that in the absence of revelation, I go with what seems to be the case. That as far as I've witnessed it, and I don't see any supernatural entities involved. Is that unreasonable?
No, but I think obviously I don't think it's unreasonable, but I think all that stuff is also gonna go way over G-Man's head, even if he wasn't doing his little show.
Yeah.
He's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. I think we all know that.
He's the tool that was left in the grass out in the back 40.
He is a blunt tool. That's the reason why.
That's what I was saying, Cliff. He's not even in the shed.
Yeah, that's why he keeps asking people questions.
Yeah.
The amusing thing was after I got booted, because obviously I wasn't, there was no way I was going to be allowed to stay in there and say stuff that might actually sound reasonable. So I had to be booted. He just had to, which is ironic, because he was complaining a little while ago. Why is it that these people that have got 500 subscribers and more and whatever, they don't come into my Hangout? Because they're too famous for me now. That's what it is. No, it's because...
Yeah, all he cares about is the views and getting people in there which have views like Matt Dillahunty. I'm gonna go call Matt Dillahunty in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I mean, and then gets upset when he...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, and then gets upset when he gets told it's 3 o'clock in the morning, go away, you jackass.
Yeah, and then one of his little chucklehead friends, I think it was Antonio, was like, see, this is the kind of people we're dealing with that use language like that. Yeah, he called you a jackass because you cold called him at 3 in the morning, you jackass.
About 5 times.
I think once is enough to be called a jackass.
No, I mean that G-Man cold called him about 3 or 4 times, and then on like the 4th or 5th or whatever the number is, he called him up about several times, and then it's like, this guy needs to go the fuck away. And so he said, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to go to bed, jackass. You know.
Well, what he said was, you have completely destroyed any chance of ever having a conversation with me, you jackass.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, the thing about it is, G-Man, especially with his arguments and his concept of how other people live, it kind of reminds me of the toddler, where if they close their eyes, they think that no one can see them. If I close my eyes, no one can see me. That he only bases things out of his own idea and his own concepts, and if I'm awake, then everybody else must be awake.
Mm-hmm.
I remember someone.
Well, it's because he didn't realize that Texas was on the West Coast.
Yeah,
was not on the West Coast.
I think there was one where he was complaining about why Alex Botton hadn't turned up, and it was 4:00 in the morning. And that wasn't a good enough answer. And yet he just finished his hangout because it was 1:00 where he was.
Oh.
And yet he's not a flat earther.
Or a 9/11 truther.
Oh yeah, he's called out flat earthers and he thinks it's bullshit, mainly because he thinks it makes Christians look bad, which it does.
Yeah.
Like, at least he realizes that much.
Yeah.
Ironically, I actually used a little bit of it on him because I said, if you read the Bible literally, then the birds fly at the same altitude as the sun.
Because we didn't know any better back then, or it was, poetic metaphor.
Look, when you push sheep around in a valley with a stick, it really doesn't fucking matter. But when you want to do other shit, it kind of does.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the reason why the what's the guy who made some wings? It's
Icarus.
Yeah, Icarus.
Icarus, yes.
Well, Daedalus and Icarus.
Daedalus was his father.
Yeah.
Icarus was his son who
definitely
got himself killed.
Well, now we know how high Icarus had to fly, don't we?
Yeah, about the same altitude as the sun, apparently.
Yeah. Well, he had to get close enough to melt the wax.
But I mean, that's it's kind of like, it's fairly logical thinking, really. It's like, okay, here's the light, here's the wax, and if it gets too close to it, it melts.
Mm-hmm.
And things fall apart when you use wax to hold it together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have engineering. Because wax doesn't work, and neither do prayers.
I like to say that story isn't a parable about, like, I don't know, flying too high or listening to your parents or whatever, as much as it is a parable about the failures of wax as an adhesive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm playing it wrong with the story rather than, the meaning.
And Kevin, what's the moral of the story we learned today? That's right. Don't glue things together with wax.
Well, don't glue things together with wax that your life depends on. That's a bad idea, and I'm going to stop waving the soldering.
I must admit, I must say, Kevin, that cat has quite a nice smile on his face, considering you just took a drink out of the top of its head.
You like my kitty cup? Jackie has a puppy cup. I have the kitty.
Oh no! Careful!
It's a good job you don't swap it. It's a good job you don't swap it around as soon as you take a drink. It's puppies.
Yeah. Oh, there's the puppy cup. Okay.
There's the puppy cup. Here.
I haven't got a puppy, but I have got.
Don't do this.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, Kill.
Fuck this shit.
What are you bring up?
I'm actually not really.
What?
I'm not paying attention to the video screen right now because I'm working.
Yeah, so I used to have this like little light up blue mouse pad that was also a USB hub, and this is the circuit board from it, and like the USB cable came unsoldered from the board. But I'm having a hell of a time just getting the solder out of one of these stupid little holes. I've been at this for like an hour.
Have you not got some what do you call it?
I've tried the vacuum pump. and the desoldering braid.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
All the there's like 6 holes I had to clear. All 5 other ones were easy. I'm somewhat new to soldering, so I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. But this one hole is so fucking stubborn, and it's making me really mad.
Another one is to get a piece of wire, you know, even if it's a paper clip or something, and just push it, you know, push it through on the side. Use the solder on the other. Gosh, this looks so dirty. Push it through one side. Hold the soldering iron and then pull it out, and it'll either seal up the hole or you'll do it again until it doesn't.
I haven't tried that yet. That's a good idea. Fuck, I haven't even gotten to actually trying to solder the cable back on. I'm just trying to get it cleaned up enough to do that.
You should see some of the soldering I've done. I've made circuit boards for model railways, and they're using surface mount LEDs.
Yeah, I know people who are kind of like hardcore. They design circuit boards like in software and then order the components, solder all the components onto it, and use it in a project. Like, I'd like to get to that point sometime. Yeah,
I thought about doing that as well. You know, much easier ways of doing things. But
my background is mostly software, but I want to start messing with hardware because there's like a lot of fun projects I've seen. They're so easy to get into now.
Mm.
Okay, Kevin, you're starting to sound like Prudent.
Shut up, Pedler.
Just punch someone in the army and you'll be all the way there.
Prudent has his obsessions and I have mine.
I don't see a problem with it. I don't know electronics very well. I know the bits that I need to know for what I do. But I do some very small soldering.
Yeah, I mean, I mainly got this just to fix a couple things around the house before I get into crazier stuff. Like, I really would like to fix the mouse pad so I don't have to throw it out, but and I'm sure I'll be able to, but I've been struggling with this for like the past hour and it's so pissing me off.
Oh, I have to go to bed, but I don't want to.
Oh, yeah, I was just about to.
I've just pointed to Heathens. Maybe he wants to join.
You're still hanging out in that Discord headless?
Oh, I'm basically just making fun of them.
Yeah, I had to take a step away from the Krillism one. It got a little too toxic for me.
Yeah. Oh, I basically just go in there and then just call somebody a cuck and sit back and watch the shitstorm.
Like, part of the reason I just got tired of going to the voice chat and Krillism was 9 out of 10 times I go in there, it's John being a retard and everybody arguing with him.
I don't know who John is.
Oh,
you're lucky. You're lucky, Cliff.
He's this like 21-year-old kid that hangs out in one of the Great Debate Discord servers, and he's like, he has no education. As far as I know, he dropped out of high school. He's really, really ignorant. But he also, at the same time, thinks he knows everything and will argue with you even if you are way, way more knowledgeable on whatever it is being discussed.
Why do you think I call him a cuck?
Oh, yeah, and he calls people cucks very unironically. And if someone, like, he was debating with Tom Rabbit like a week ago, and he would say things like, shut up, faggot. Like, if he... Like, that kind of person who says stuff like that just in regular conversation.
So he's basically a 14-year-old thinking he's a grown-up.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Or like an 8-year-old, more like.
8-year-olds tend not to use language like that.
No, they say poo-poo head.
Yeah, poo-poo head.
There you go. There's, Kevin, there's a bit of my soldering.
Oh, yeah. The, repairing the car, I see. That's cool.
And it came out of where was it? out of that?
Someday, when Jackie and I have our own place and we have room for it, I will have to set up my dad's old Lionel train set from the 50s. That was kind of part of my childhood growing up because we set it up every Christmas and show it to you. It's at my mom's right now. Well, Kevin is building Trail Doomsday.
I'm going to do something incredibly atheist and sort of ask the question of how do I put the, how do I phrase the, my head is saying, how do I phrase what I want to say without sounding like a douche?
I just sound like a douche. It's fine.
I don't do train sets, so it would be the equivalent of you're into computer software and someone's doing something from the 80s and saying, look at this, how great is this? And it's like, yeah, I was doing something like that when I was 12.
Cliff, play
Yeah,
nice. This is Kevin's childhood memory.
Okay. No, I don't care. Like, I'm not that into trains either, but I don't know. It's something I would like to set up someday.
Mm.
If it even still works, the engine might need repairs. Fuck if I know how to do that.
I discovered something interesting. There's a company, a model railway company from years ago. The guy who did this stuff is dead now. Good for about 20 years now. And a railway modeler friend of mine gave me a couple of his old kits to try and put together, just for the experimentation of, because in order to learn skills, you've got to, use rubbish to try and, get some experience on it before you start doing it on the kit that you'd spent 50 quid on, and sometimes more. So this is an MTK kit. The designer called them El Crapo kits. So it shows how good they are. But it's a bit of aluminium that's got windows that are kind of really bad, and it's got blobby white metal ends on it that just look like they're deformed. It's kind of awful. But the interesting thing about these kits is they actually sell. People actually buy these things. This is something that was getting thrown in the bin because there's something more modern that was good. But what I discovered is that to fellow railway modelers, it's kind of like car crash, driving on the other side of the road when you drive past a car crash. It's not going to be pretty, but people can't help but look. I'm rambling.
God.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, I get it.
Somebody said trains. It's expected.
Yeah, that's true. I should stop talking about that.
Choo-choo.
I went to a really great show last week, so I put some video up on my new Model Railway channel.
Oh, cool.
Jackie, isn't there a place in Lake Arrowhead that we went into that has like model trains?
Yeah.
Is that a club that's up here? I'm not sure.
It's a club, yeah.
Yeah.
How's the new channel going anyway?
Pretty good. I've got about 50 subscribers now, 45, something like that.
The start.
Yeah, not bad in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm actually running Hangouts on it as well now. I ran one Monday.
What's the subject of it?
Model railways.
Great debate stuff. Oh. Okay, that's what I thought. I knew you wanted to move away from the cluster
boredom. The boredom.
Yeah, I've got 45 subscribers, and I've had. Doesn't it show views? Oh, it's.
Oh my god, I should be in bed right now.
Huh?
I should be in bed right now.
Oh, I should put this away for tonight. I've had enough of this bullshit. Before I get too tired and burn myself.
I don't know the statistics on it. Not without logging out and re-logging in. But,
are you just on your same channel?
No.
No, it's a
It's a new
different,
thing.
new model railway channel that I made. So this is my atheisty cycle camera stuff, and also my on the case stuff, because I do these occasional rants. You know.
You got about 400 views.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's not too bad.
And you're right, 45 subs.
Yeah, in 3 weeks, that's not so bad.
Modest beginning.
Yeah.
And most of those subs too, Cliff, are all within the first maybe 3 days.
Yeah.
Probably from I'd imagine other people on his old channel.
No.
No,
Probably not.
I think I've only got.
Where did you promote it or something?
I posted members of the model railway group that I'm in a model railway society called the Union.
There you go.
And so, you know.
You have to kind of keep both lives separate.
Yeah. I don't want the atheist stuff infecting that. You know, I mean, one of my really good friends, model railway friends, he's a strong Anglican, like goes to church every week and helps out and stuff like that. You know, so it's an important thing in his life.
That's like I'm not supposed to talk about religion on my author's channel.
Hmm.
Same basic thing. Don't want to alienate potential readers.
It's not just that. I mean, we don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics on the model railway group.
Yeah. Well, the model
same
railroad, your model railroad channel though is for model railroading.
Yeah.
That's the discussion. That's the topic. Anything else is inappropriate.
Although, thanks to Theresa May, our Prime Minister, they screwed up our model railway show for the year. We had we lost a room. We hold it in a town hall, and because of the election that was going on, the postal votes were held in a locked room, and that was a room we were going to be using, so we couldn't use it.
Oh, I see. It was just because of the election.
Yeah.
That election was the most amusing political fuck up that I've had the pleasure of watching in a long time.
Oh yeah. Do you know what the real
Cliff?
fuck up
You should write a letter to Lord Buckethead.
Oh, that guy's
my God! Yeah.
And see if he can do anything next year about getting that room reserved for the model railroaders. And you know,
he's only up the road from it actually, so perhaps he could do something.
What were you saying, Cliff?
The cock up, the real cock up in it, or potential cock up, is that a good while ago now, when Tony Blair was around as Prime Minister, probably 20 years ago almost now. So they had the Northern Ireland Agreement, you know, the Good Friday Agreement, and effectively, you know, they'd had the troubles and they'd had politicians fighting out, and that was spreading into sectarian violence, where people are chucking pipe bombs at children who want to walk to school, you know, because they're walking through the wrong estate. And, you know, so as a part of this agreement, the UK government has to, any talks that go on, they have to be impartial. The government has to be impartial in any negotiations that happens. Okay. Well, in this election, Theresa May was 7 votes or something short of a majority. So she has gone to the DUP, the unionist, you know, political party. So Sinn Féin is the IRA political wing. They're the other version.
Yeah,
you know?
And they're also very anti-gay and extremely far to the right.
Yes. So you basically, they've gone and they're trying to do negotiations with them now to be able to form a government, and there's a massive problem going on there because, of course, if the DUP are a part of the government, how can the government be impartial in any negotiations on Northern Ireland, of which these DUP people are, you know, MPs for their constituencies?
Conflict of interest.
Yeah. You know,
I have a feeling
a serious problem.
I have a feeling she's not going to last long.
No, I have that we have a funny thing that happens. I don't know if that happens in America, but it definitely happens in the UK. So a football team is not doing very well. We're talking soccer here, okay? So a football team is not doing very well, and there are rumors that they're going to fire the manager. You know, the coach, the head coach, or whatever, okay? And so what happens is the management of the team, he's got our full support. 3 days later, he resigns, strokes fired. And I have and this last couple of days, there have been MPs on her cabinet, including Boris Johnson, who's got his own ambitions to be prime minister one day, who is giving her his full support.
Yeah, sure.
So I have a feeling in about a week or two, you know, she won't be prime minister of that part. She won't be the leader of that party, because remember, our politics is a bit different. You know, because we have a leader of a party. Not so, to use an American analogy, Hillary Clinton would have been the leader of the Democrat Party, and President Trump would have been the leader of the, what's it?
Yeah.
And then they have the votes, and whoever's got the most amount of votes becomes the the prime minister or the president in your case. So a little more complicated than that, but that's the basics.
Okay, I gotta go to bed before I.
Good night, Jackie.
More. Good night.
Hang on, Jackie. Someone wants to say goodbye.
Oh, good night. Bye bye.
You're cute.
Nice.
Yeah, I see. Like Theresa May obviously has no clue why she lost. She's doubling down on her "we're gonna control the internet" shit, and
oh yeah,
like, well, I'm gonna stop it. I'm not stepping down. I'm gonna leave this government. Mine. No, sorry.
Well, you know, they've been, even today, they had people saying, strong and stable leadership and, in the national interest. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure if you say that to yourselves enough times, you'll start to believe it. You know, I think Donald Trump does the same thing, sort of, I am a good president. I am a good president. I am a good president. I am really popular. I am really popular. I got the popular vote. I've got the popular vote. I'm sure he rocks himself to sleep every night thinking that.
Yeah, the thing is, he doesn't know what he's doing, so he, listens to what all these other people say. Like, I don't think Trump is the big bad here. He's just an idiot with a big ego. It's the people he surrounds himself with that are dangerous.
Yeah. There was a suggestion that he's going to fire the special prosecutor, his name now.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like, please do, because that is just sealing obstruction charges. That's just making it happen.
Well, he is perfectly within his rights to do so, but it sure as hell don't look good.
No, it's
the Comey thing didn't look good, but yeah.
Well, he can't do it apparently. Only someone from the State Department can, not State Department, Justice Department can do it. And but Sessions can't because he recused himself, so it's going to be the deputy guy, which mirrors almost exactly what happened with Nixon.
Yeah.
because the guy in charge of the Justice Department resigned rather than do it, and so his deputy did it instead. And again, it wasn't the charge; it was the cover-up that killed that presidency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, have you guys not actually looked up history? We hear you saying the words like Nixon, and you haven't Googled it yet. It's on Wikipedia. You should be able to find this stuff. You don't even have to look at history.
No,
Just look at Wikipedia.
People forget their own history.
I think you're overestimating the U.S.
They just listen to what their echo chambers say. People on both sides do it. They don't care what the facts are.
There was a shock jock a number of years back that, as a joke, long after Nixon had died, made a joke that Nixon had was considering running for president. And there was a big move, Nixon for president, that came out of it, and I'm like, what the hell? First off, he's dead. Second off, do y'all not remember history? Like, yeah, he's a president, he'll get things done. I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I personally would like to, I think it would be hilarious if the DNC nominated Jimmy Carter again. He's better than a lot of these other chuckleheads that they're putting out there. He only had one term. He's eligible even though he's like 92.
Yeah, it just.
Watch they nominate him and then he dies like one day.
Oh, he would never accept it, but I still think it's like their best option right now because the DNC is so totally fucked.
The weird thing is all the propaganda about how horrible a president Carter was, it wasn't bad. He didn't necessarily do all that much per se, but he wasn't a bad president. And after Nixon, we kind of needed a break.
I mean, I must admit, I am somewhat ignorant of, I know some of it through, studying history. But, of course,
Carter gets flack for certain things.
There was a lot of propaganda going on around the time. This is around the time that I think it was Iran, if I remember correctly, had basically a bunch of people that had been taken hostage, and there was a huge crisis with that. And we didn't find out. And they were sitting there making this huge deal out of it, like, oh no, and he can't do anything, and he didn't do anything about it. Well, he fucking tried. He failed, but he fucking tried.
Yeah, and he screwed up the oil crisis, and he also gave away the Panama Canal Zone. That's another thing he gets a lot of crap for.
Yeah, he gave the Panama Canal to Panama. Okay, you gave people their own land back. Darn.
No, I'm just saying that's one of the things he gets a lot of flack for, especially from, Republicans.
But yeah, the thing that got me about
Republicans we have now are the same.
Well, the thing that gets me about the whole thing with, oh no, and there were these people held captive and blah, 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 and he was trying to make a deal with them. Well, yeah, he made a deal with them that he'd give them spare parts for their freaking planes. The Republicans came in and said, if you wait to release the prisoners until after the election, until after our guy's in, then we'll give you weapons. Yet it's Carter that's the bad guy?
It makes me chuckle sometimes when I hear about Republicans. It's like they're really into small government unless it's what women do with their bodies.
No, you don't understand, dude. No, that's why they want the government small, so it can fit in there.
No, they want small government, but they want corporations to have all the power.
No, they want it small enough to fit in a vagina.
They don't want they don't want a welfare state. They don't want the government helping people, but a corporate welfare state, that's just fine.
Yeah.
Anyone who says that the U.S. economy is a free market economy is full of shit, and they don't know what they're talking about.
One of the things that I studied many years ago when I was at college was I studied the lead up to the Cuban Missile Crisis. And when I looked at history, and it was like, I don't really have a problem with Castro. I mean, you know, yes, he went a bit bonkers, you know, with the control. But what I mean is, the whole point of having a revolution and taking over was because, you know, they were being, you know, the normal people were being treated as second-class citizens in their own country by another nation, effectively. You know, the Batista government was being propped up by, you know, big business from America and gangsters. And it's like, you know, where poor people were living in poverty, you know, and it was being used by another country as, you know, a party hotspot. And so, you know, it's like America is upset that the people who live there were not happy and decided to do something about it. Now, I hate to point this out, but have you ever heard of the War of Independence? You know, it just, you know, and then also, you know, another aspect of it was about a year after Castro took over, he went to America to try and sort out some kind of trade agreement. And he was sent packing, you know. Eisenhower refused to see him. He was playing golf, you know, and he was sent packing. And of course, what did the Russians do? They took advantage of it. Yeah, we'll give you money for your crops, for your sugar. Yeah, you know, and we'll help you out. And effectively, by siding with the Russians, that's what made them communists. Not really. They were revolutionaries, yes, but communists, no. And it was only later on, you know, communism seemed a good idea considering, you know, what was available. So you know, I look at it from the other side of the channel and I can see things slightly differently. You know, and there's also another aspect as well. I don't know if you're familiar with Manifest Destiny. It's the idea of, yeah, we got to give them right to push to the West, you know, kind of thing. Well, you could look at the Cuban Missile Crisis as that, the blockade. You know, we've got a God-given right to blockade international waters to prevent another country getting supplies of something. You know, how does that work? International waters, that obviously doesn't mean anything to you. You know, it's, you know, it's interesting, the power play of politics. You know, and we nearly had a nuclear war before I was born, obviously, about it. So, you know, history is interesting because when you look at it from another point of view, when you look at it from the outside, you can see things in a different way. I mean, I can think another example is Vietnam. Now, the situation for the average people is it was a poor agrarian, you know, system where you had rich landowners and the masses of poor people. Well, you know, if you're the poor people and there's more of them, instead of working for you know, as a wage slave in a field, what's more appealing? Sticking with this system that's already there, or communism where you are a part of this? That's more appealing. So you can understand why people went for that. You know, I'm not suggesting that communism is right or capitalism is wrong. I'm saying that, you know, when you look at the demographics of the people, you can sort of say, okay, I can see why people went for that angle because that would make their lives better. So instead of being a wage slave, you're now a co-owner of this. So you're not just working to make someone else rich, you're working for the goodness of everybody in that community. That, you know,
yeah, but don't you understand how un-American that is?
I know. You know, and it seems that it's very easy for us in our comfortable first world situation to say, well, this should be this way and that should be that way. But when you're on another continent and the rules are slightly different, you know, it's like, I can see why some people would be captivated by certain ideas. Like I say, not saying that they're necessarily good, because the problem with communism, of course, is if everybody's equal, how can you have any leaders? How can you have any professionals? And if you've got professionals, you know, then you would expect them to be paid more for the professionalism that they've earned, you know, that they've earned that wage due to them being more experienced and gone to school and college and university and, you know, PhDs and, you know, whatever it is, engineering or whatever.
Oh, come on, man. You've read Animal Farm. Some people are just more equal.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I made a joke about that on Twitter a few days ago, because after the terrorist attack in London a couple of weeks ago now, Theresa May was talking about opting out of some of the European Court of Human Rights laws. So we're not gonna leave it. We're just gonna opt out of some of its protections. Well, how, you know, that sounds like an Animal Farm kind of thing. You know, are some laws equal and others less equal than others? You know, some human rights, you know, more equal. You know, some human rights are equal and some human rights are less equal than others, especially when they're talking about things that we don't want them to talk about. Because, you know, we would rather be able to spy on everybody just to make sure that everybody isn't doing anything wrong, rather than paying more money and putting it into intelligence instead of cutting 5% of, you know, our equivalent of the CIA, you know, MI5 and GCHQ and the intelligence services, you know, cutting their budget by 5%, and then saying, but how did these people slip through the system? You know, there was intelligence on the people that did this, and somehow, you know, the people, you know, the powers that be, the intelligence services, had to make the decision. Okay, well, these people are more credible threats, whereas these are less credible threats, so we'll have to not pay attention to them. To, you know, we'll concentrate on those, and next thing you know, it's these people that are the big problem. You know, how do you do something about that? Sorry, I've ranted there. Is anybody there?
I'm here, more or less.
Okay.
Playing a game.
All right.
Distraction is good.
What is good?
Distraction.
Ah. Yeah, we live in interesting times, I'd say.
Yeah, that we do. That we most assuredly do. And interesting isn't necessarily a good thing.
So which do you think will happen first? Do you think we'll have a different government, you know, another election and a different government, or will Trump have screwed it up even worse for himself?
I don't know, man. I mean,
what happened first?
It's a really weird situation over here in the States, and a lot of that is just because right now, you know, the Republicans have their power, and there's all these people that are, well, frankly, kind of douchebags that are like weirdly devoted followers of Trump, and they're afraid of offending them.
Yeah.
And the problem is, you know, they've been building this propaganda machine. They've been building this ridiculous rhetoric for so freaking long. Now now I think that they're kind of realized that they're kind of stuck now.
Yeah.
And they're really between a rock and a hard place.
I agree.
They get rid of Trump. They, you know, well, gee, their other little flunky ends up taking over. But if he doesn't have the support of the American people, they're not going to be able to get dick done. And right now, they're kind of in a position to try to put all their little dream shit through there because they control everything.
I actually think this is going to be good for America in the end.
I don't know.
Because I think that people seeing how bad that a unqualified president, because he doesn't, you know, as much as I think Pence is an idiot and an arsehole, he has paid his dues in political life, as it were.
I mean, I'd be more worried about Pence. At least he's somewhat competent.
Yeah, but what I mean is that, you know, at the moment you've got someone who doesn't have a history of politicking, you know, and so he's winging it, not understanding what the rules are, and you know, what things you can and can't do, and not knowing the history of what's happened before and why some of the things that he's doing are incredibly dangerous for his presidency. And so what's going to happen, in my opinion, this is what I see happening, is people are going to see that an idiot unelected, you know, sorry, not unelected, an idiot unqualified person is not suitable, you know, for being in the White House. That you want to have a group who, even if you disagree with their politics, at least you know that they are they understand the system well enough, so they're going to be competent at doing it.
The problem mainly is the shit that the religious people have been saying. The religious leaders.
Yeah.
They're holding him up like he's the fucking Messiah.
Even
literally using that kind of verbiage.
I find it amazing. It makes me laugh so much because, you know, Trump fulfills all these revelational, you know, the Revelations book in the Bible. He fits so many, you know, he's going to be a trickster and he's going to be, you know, a smooth talker and things like that, you know, and it's like, you know, and he's going to confound people by the millions and things. It's like,
the confounding part's true enough.
You can't see Trump fitting that as well. I mean, the only reason why
I have asked.
The only reason Hillary Clinton wasn't the Antichrist was because she was a woman, and the Antichrist is going to be a man.
No, they would have made her they would have claimed she was the Babylon whore.
Yeah.
The character of the Antichrist is on very shaky ground as far as like actually being a biblical character.
Mm.
It's a very narrow segment of Christianity that actually promotes that the Antichrist is a real person. But I've put this question to in a few places online, and I have yet to get a satisfying answer. I asked like to not just voted for whatever.
You're breaking up, or at least you're on my end.
And think, can you hear me?
Yeah, break it up a bit.
Basically, I asked any of what Jesus taught, what Trump is doing. What in the character of Jesus, like, is a godly man? I have not gotten a good answer for that.
I suspect you will either at this point.
Republican, yeah.
Yeah,
I think all they can say is, well, the other side is like they want to kill babies and shit and socialism, communism. Blah.
The thing is, I can see that you know, if you look at the polls, most people don't care about who gay people marry, and they don't care about, you know, where transgender people go to the bathroom. They really don't give a shit. It's only the loud.
I think the Republican Party
do this. Sorry?
The Republican Party is moving away from that.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. It's going to keep them like from winning up. Don't drop these stupid moral.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've got to. I mean, you know, the people don't go for that stuff anymore. So they've got to change with the times. Otherwise, they're going to be effectively making themselves unelectable for who knows how long.
Right now, it's the Democrat.
You are breaking up so badly there.
I don't know.
I had no idea now.
I think Headless has fallen asleep.
Kind of.
But, you know, like I say, it's, you know, I think they're going to make themselves unelectable if they don't get with the times. And the times are not, you know, the religious right.
I think I'm going to go to bed, Cliff.
Okay. Good night, Sudo. Take care of yourself.
Yeah. Night.
I think I'm going to drop this. So for the viewers who watch, thank you for watching. I've had 4 or 5 watching live. Maybe some will watch later. Who knows? But hope you've enjoyed this. The last bit was a bit of a ramble, but the first part I think was a good argument. Not necessarily a good, not a good argument for believing in something. For just
Don't argue with yourself.
Sorry?
You're arguing with yourself now.
No. I'm saying it's not a great argument. Presuppositionalism is not a good argument. It's a terrible argument, and I used it to demonstrate how it's terrible to destroy G-Man's worldview. So.
Oh, you started with that bullshit. Lovely.
Yeah.
Glad I missed it.